1st, 2022. The time is 3 p.m. This is a special meeting agenda to continue our fiscal year 23 budget deliberations. Attending Commissioners Duncan, Brooks, and Filios. Any changes to the agenda? Hearing none. One and only business item, fiscal 23 deliberations to include the C budget, which is capital requests with staff accountant Brandy Falcon. Once again, Brandy will be addressing the board and will hold any comments, if any, to the end. Actually, okay, so Brandy, the show is yours. Go right ahead, please.
Good afternoon. So today we're just going to go over capital requests. I don't know, did you want Keith Hutchison to give an overview, or do you want me to just dive in?
Go ahead. Dive in, and then when we get to cars, he can jump in if we need him to.
Okay, so today is going to be a lot more discussion-based between the board and us, and if you have questions for departments as we go through.
Go right ahead.
And if departments come up, I just ask that they speak into the microphone so we get it on tape. So we're going to...
So do you want to handle department comments as we go? What's your preference?
I guess that would be up to you. They're here to answer your questions on their requests.
Okay, go right ahead.
So it's if you have questions for them as we go. So first, we'll just touch on the preliminary summary again. This is overall how much you have left to cut from the budget. We are at $8.5 million to cut right now if you took the full 3% and no M&O. It did go up a little bit from last week because personnel does change every payroll, like we said, and we just had payroll last week, so that was updated.
I see, okay.
And then we did lose about $1.7 million in revenue. There is an adjustment that had to be made with community development, and we did work through that with David and his staff. So that's in there. We thoroughly reviewed all other non-property tax revenues, and they're good to go. So today we'll jump into capital. We're going to start with solid waste. They are an enterprise fund, so they will be funding their own requests. And we have noted on each of these if they impact or do not impact your bottom line. So solid waste, whether you cut or approve their requests, either way is not going to impact your bottom line because they're self-funded. So I can just go through these one by one. In total, they have $2.6 million. Do you want me to go through every single one? Is that how you prefer, or? I know
You
that
mean
you have reviewed
2.6
these.
million for solid waste?
Yep.
Yeah, I don't think you need to go through individual line items.
Okay.
Leslie, Bill, do you? On that one? Okay, go
Okay,
right ahead.
so there's 2.6 million for solid waste. Next, for the assessor out of Fund 46, there's 250,000 for Aumentum repair and maintenance. If you chose to fund that out of Fund 46 fund balance, which is what they requested, it would not, it would take that away from your bottom line. So you would see a reduction in your bottom line of that amount.
Okay, so I'm prepared to say yes, let's do that.
For Fund 46?
Yes.
And for solid waste, or just Fund 46?
Well, solid waste, yes, from solid waste. Sorry, I thought that was because solid waste doesn't.
I didn't want to assume, but.
Yeah, no, that's totally fine.
So
Yes.
solid waste, yes. Assessor, Fund 46, yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
Okay,
but the solid waste is not affecting the deficit.
Nope, it's not.
Okay, go right
It just
ahead.
still has to get your
Right.
blessing.
Go ahead.
We're going to skip district court for now because they're property tax funded. Moving on, there was a request from rec safety with the sheriff for a $20,000 bladder and a $20,000 personal watercraft. The funding was stated as RBS grant or fund balance. The thing with this is we don't budget grant expenditures like this in the budget adoption. These happen mid-year after we get the grant award. And I did go over this with Stephanie this morning. And so this wouldn't necessarily be something that's adopted. We also went over this with our grants accountant. We can't budget something until we have the award. So we would get the award in FY23, then they could come before you and ask for it, and you could say yes. So probably, I mean, Keith, correct me, but probably wouldn't be an FY23 budgeted item because of the grant
Okay,
aspect.
okay.
So do you want to leave
So
that in?
where is
or-
that? You want to highlight that?
Yep, it's this
The
40,000
40,000.
right here. I apologize, it's tiny, right here.
Oh, there it is, okay.
yeah. So I'm fine with taking it out of the mix, and then
Okay.
we're not saying we're not approving it, we're saying that it's not going to be property tax.
In the budget adoption, right?
Okay, so we're putting this aside for now?
Yes, because it'll be
Okay.
brought back later as a grant.
Right,
Okay.
when they receive the award, then you can approve it.
Yep.
Okay. And then moving on, so Parks and Waterways is requesting a backhoe and a Ford Explorer, and they're splitting the costs between noxious weeds and waterways. So the total cost for the backhoe is going to be $125,000. They're taking $90,000 out of waterways and $35,000 out of noxious weeds. Waterways is not a tax-supported fund. They're requesting that $90,000 from their fund balance, which they have $149,000 currently. And then in noxious weeds, they currently have $75,000 fund balance. So they do have enough to cover it. Noxious weeds is a tax-supported fund. But it would be coming from fund balance, not property tax dollars. And
So
then.
that's not affecting our deficit.
Correct. The 90,000 would, and the 35,000 would, because those are in tax funds. So the 90,000, the 35,000, and the 25,000 would affect your bottom line.
So if you approve that request, it's coming from fund balance and will decrease. your-
Right.
Okay, that
But-
was my point.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's currently budgeted as an expense, but if you choose fund balance, it increases your fund balance revenue, reduces your expense.
Does he have the fund balance for it?
Yes, he does.
He does.
Yep.
Bill, Leslie?
Yes, I'm fine with the backhoe.
Okay.
The
okay.
backhoe, and then also they're doing a Ford Explorer as well.
Right, and then that,
Same deal?
Yeah, same funds, and they do
Same
have the fund
split.
balance to cover it, yep.
yep,
Okay.
that's fine.
So with that Ford Explorer, this would probably be a good time for Keith to speak of what fleet management is taking care of in the way of the car requests and what would be approved
Okay.
otherwise.
So which part are we on right now? Do you want to talk about which one?
We're just on Nick's car, it's the first one that's come up.
The Ford Explorer with.
For
parts
Nick?
and- Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was, he explained to us that was going to come out of his balance.
Yes,
Just like solid waste.
yep,
This was going
Okay.
to come from his, what he had, towards. So it wasn't going to come out of our stuff.
Okay.
Correction, I don't mean to, us and our, but I'm just trying to put it together in my mind.
Okay.
He had monies for that available in his balance.
Okay. So where's the concern? What are we getting into here?
Oh, no concern. I just if you had questions as you went along with the vehicles, they're trying to, the fleet management, and I think I'm the only one here representing us, but
So there were 5 cars total, right?
that
In question.
today, I didn't even actually count them.
Oh, okay, okay.
There's actually a couple more going to be, the sheriff's department's going to come up and speak to those, and then we'll speak together on that. But this one here is not a problem, no.
So why are we addressing this?
well,
It lowers your bottom line if you're taking it out of fund balance.
Yeah.
That's what we're trying to do.
yeah, so that's fine. I think the fleet management piece is that we're trying to get all requests to go through fleet management, so it's a team making the recommendations.
Okay.
And so there's some in here that have not gone through fleet management, and so we can bring those up
Okay, okay.
as we go. So Nick's didn't go through fleet management because it is restricted fund balance.
Okay.
All right,
And
so,
we basically already said okay to that, right?
Yes, you did.
That's the Ford Explorer?
And
Okay,
the backhoe,
all right.
yes. Yep.
yep,
Okay. Moving on, let's see, this is property tax. So we're gonna move down real quick to E911, because they are also restricted funds. First, they requested $65,000 for a backup battery / power system and a backup generator. And then they requested $1 million for a fire dispatch station alerting system. It sounds like that $1 million cost is going to be somehow shared with other agencies, but I don't have any clarity on that. That'd be a question for them, because they don't have the fund balance to cover the full $1 million and the $65,000.
so I don't know if you want Colin to speak, part of it is coming from their revenue. They have so much revenue every year. So I don't know if you want him to talk to you about that.
I mean, if you approve it, we just need to know how it's being funded, because there's not enough fund balance.
Right. So Colin, if you just want to come up and,
Commissioners, yes, this is a rather large joint project with all fire agencies in the county to update their station alerting system. A portion of that is involved at dispatch, and we're trying to extend some of that to cover equipment in the stations. We are working on the project. There is a cost share with each individual station. Agency will be responsible for that cost. Coverage, of course, is fully capable to be funded from the E911 restricted fund balance, and we would not seek to take any general fund to cover this cost, and it would be all from E911 revenue, either generated that year or what we do have in fund balance. From what I last talked with Tina, I believe we were roughly at 1.2 million in fund balance as we opened this fiscal year. So
It's showing here that they have you about 1 million, but even if that's the case, the revenue plus the fund balance should cover.
would cover
Those
that project.
Yeah, so
We-
I don't-
We generally bring in more revenue than we expense in a year. Usually where we make up that gap is in capital projects. If not, we will usually send roughly 500,000 to 800,000 to fund balance if we do low capital expense costs.
So yeah, if the board wants to approve it, we'll just mark it off.
Sure. So in your estimation, Colin, this cannot wait another year?
I would recommend no. This current station alerting system is very aged, and the stations and fire departments are experiencing an issue with it. They were the ones that actually approached the subject. We more than likely will try to push this into a 2-year, 2-phase project. In the timing with the fire departments, most of them felt they couldn't get their costs into their budget. So we will likely push this into a 2-year phase project where we'll get dispatch complete and get some components of that complete, and the more fire departments will come on in the next year. So that is project as a cost total, just strictly budgetary, what we think we may have to cover. In likelihood, it will be less because that isn't contract pricing. So right off of that, contract pricing is roughly at 10%.
Then can we segment it? Can we budget the first $500,000 this year?
Well, he has the money in fund balance, so if things go together quicker than he's anticipating, then we probably want to fund the whole thing this year. I mean, especially because it's restricted, it doesn't.
So you're thinking you're going to be able to replenish the fund balance with revenue?
Correct. Replenish or cover what costs related to this project with projected revenue in that fiscal year.
Okay. So I'm good with that coming from their fund.
All right, so that's decrementing our deficit, correct?
Is that taking 1 million off? of our-
E911, no.
Okay.
That does
So
not.
you had already,
We had already budgeted those as
Fund balance?
Yep.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So I think that takes care of all of our restricted and special revenue
Thank you.
ones. So we'll jump back up, starting with district court. They've requested an X-ray imaging system for $17,500. That would come from property tax, and that would hit your bottom line.
okay, so this is,
Good afternoon. Arlene Berenger for District Court. Is there any questions?
hi, Carlene, thank you. So this is the belt X-ray system and not the metal detector that we had talked about before?
Correct. This is the X-ray system. Our X-ray machines are about 17 years old, and the last time they came to refurbish one, we were told that they were not going to be able to get parts any longer. So we'd like to take this new X-ray machine and put it in the Justice Building on the main level, and then switch that one out with the one that's located at the jail in courtroom 12, and then take the courtroom 12 one and just use it for spare parts on the other ones to try to give them a little bit more life.
Okay, thank you. I'm fine with that coming out of regular fund balance, general fund balance.
So you're making a change there, Brandy?
I am. So you said general fund balance for that one, okay? Next, airport has requested a snowplow for 60,000. They had in their request said they would use fund balance or property tax dollars. All their fund balance right now is actually committed to their existing expansion projects. They're actually overcommitted right now, so they don't have any fund balance. So it would come from general fund or property tax revenues.
What's in our general fund?
Like your balance. So you have 1.3 restricted, 11.9 unassigned.
11.9 unassigned?
Yes.
Think we're okay there?
Yeah, I think we are. The page that Dina used to have for us, I think that's helpful, the one that we just did, because this one's great, but it's confusing, too many lines.
If you look on the back of that.
Oh, there's our little snapshot.
we're used to
Okay,
seeing,
Yeah.
I believe.
all right, I like this one
Okay.
better.
So in going through that, you'll see that
Yeah,
that first column gives you what the fund balance was as of the beginning of the year, and then any fund balance usage is that second column, and it comes to a remaining total of just your assigned fund balance.
yeah. Do you remember assigned capital purchases? Do you remember if that was specific to anything? Because I don't remember us just having money hanging out there.
The 4.7.
Well, yeah, but it's now 2.2.
Oh, so the 2.4 that you spent was the cars and just cars.
Okay,
The
So-
25 patrol cars
Right.
and then the 8 for fleet.
right.
I was not here at the time this 4.7 was assigned. So
Well,
couldn't-
I mean, unfortunately, we haven't gone through our, we'll get to it soon, the ARPA stuff, because if the $22 million is funded out of ARPA, then we've got $10 million for movement and for things like this. So I'm okay using part of the 10 million at this point to fund some capital expenses for this year.
Okay, so basically, if I'm reading this correctly, the unassigned fund balance is 15.7 million.
Yeah, that would be a current assigned fund balance, yes.
Oh, assigned.
Assigned, yes, we put it in little buckets.
Oh, I'm sorry, okay.
Yes.
The 2.9 was the already spent, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then what is unassigned?
So,
Well, your
This
fund
gets
balance,
tricky.
your fund balance says that unassigned is really your liquidity cushion.
cash reserves that we
That's
don't
the
see.
2.5 months.
Correct.
Correct. Yes, and that's not on this page.
Right.
Correct.
Yeah,
So,
we
I
don't
mean,
even see it.
That's correct.
Yeah, we just had a question today from Barry about, well, how can unassigned fund balance be so high for Fund 15? Well, there's $40 million that flows through that fund, so, the math tells you have to have a considerable cushion.
Yeah, what I'm struggling with is when we
issues.
decide to fund something out of fund balance, and we don't maintain the distinction between assigned and unassigned, how do we know where we're taking it from?
We'll never take it from unassigned. Unassigned is our cash reserves. So forget the word unassigned
Okay,
completely.
all right.
So assigned only means we put it in buckets. It does not mean that
Doesn't
it's
mean we can't move it.
correct.
It's not committed.
Yeah, it's not
Not committed.
committed. Yes,
That's good for all of us to know. Yeah.
yes.
So one of the main, just to come back to the fund balance principle, one of the main things we provided this larger schedule
Yes.
here is that the only unassigned fund balance you have is going to be in general fund.
The
and
general fund.
And general justice fund. So Fund 10, Fund 11, Fund 15 is the only one allowed to have unassigned. Otherwise, for all the rest of the funds, they're restricted by definition.
They're basically
those fund
committed.
balances are restricted for that specific purpose.
They cannot be moved, cannot be
Correct.
reassigned.
Correct. It's not like it's not like general fund can reach in and pull those restricted funds.
Okay.
So that's why we provided this larger list, but for planning purposes, yeah, the list that Dina used to provide you is of assigned fund balance is what you should be looking for.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, so at this point, 10.5 million, I think we've got a few million in cushion as long as the project is worthy of being funded.
Okay, so where are we? Go ahead.
We're on this snowplow for 60,000 for the airport. And it would
Okay,
have to
so-
come from general fund.
All right, so did we decide that was okay?
Well, I want to talk about probably the truck and van plus outfitting costs first.
The 114,000.
Yes. So I don't know if Keith has any information. Stephen, are you on the line? It's probably not.
I did, I've made some phone calls, but I haven't been able to talk to Stephen directly. But when we started this whole project of the fleet manager back in January, he did mention that he wanted 2 trucks last year, but one got dropped. And then
Yes.
he ended up getting one. And then he was trying to pick up the truck this year, but sounds like he doesn't have the money to do it. So, the truck and van, I have not personally talked to Stephen, so I could not answer that. But I know he did mention that he needed the truck at the time when I asked him if they were going to, be part of the things that we're bringing forward a couple months ago. And he said, no, he had the fund balance to pay for it. And I was like, okay. So none of that vehicles were brought forward at that time. And I think I made a note of that on the memo that was sent to you guys.
So can we have an analysis then done on airport revenue? Because as of last year, we made our final payment on the OEM building, which was 131,000 general property tax funds. So we already have that being taxed. If he is now self-sufficient, we could use part of that 131 if he's not. So I guess I want to know how much he is self-funded now.
So referring back to your fund balance sheet, if you look at the airport fund, which is 30, it's about halfway down the page.
Yep.
The ending fund balance was $1,037,000. But you'll see under the restricted column, there's actually a negative $280,000. That's because currently, for committed capital projects, there's about $1.3 million being reserved for those. What I do understand about those projects is they're supposed to be self-funded, but,
Until we get the check in our hand from the new leasees then. So I would say at this point then that we recognize that it could come back mid-year when his fund balance is replenished. But I would say cut those out of the general fund balance today. And then when we get the analysis of his revenue and how much over or under self-funded he's going to be this year.
Okay, so you want to put this aside for now, is that it?
The 60,000 plus the 114,000, which I don't understand, says truck and van plus outfitting costs. So,
So they requested, this is the form that they sent me, and I have not been able to discuss it with them. 35,000 for a pickup truck plus 15,000 for outfitting, 49,000 for a van plus 15,000 outfitting, is where that 114 is coming from.
service truck, practical life, expectancy.
Bill, do you know anything about this?
No, but I agree with Leslie, we could push this off until we have a better handle on revenues.
All right, so let's take this out then for now.
Okay.
And once we see if in fact he's going to have the revenue to cover it, we can include it.
You can bring it back, okay. Next would be jail. This is a bunch of items in the other equipment account. Kitchen conveyor, tilt kettle, body cameras, intercom system. I think the intercom system is the largest one. So it totals 171,424. That breakout is multiple things. 84,000 for the kitchen prep conveyor, $35,000 for kettle valve parts, $39,000 for body worn video cameras and charging stations, and then, $12,000 for the intercom system. So that is everything that makes up that $171,000. So the biggest one, it looks like, is the conveyor for the kitchen prep.
And we have Captain Deke ready for questions.
Go right ahead.
Yeah, so where do you want to start? Kitchen?
I actually want to
Go ahead.
start at body cameras because we just approved a grant application. And do all of our detention deputies wear them and what?
Not.
Okay.
Jail currently has 3 that are inoperable.
Okay.
They've been on status for 5-6 years. They've been in for repair. Normally a supervisor on shift will wear one, and they may have one other one, and the other one's charging during that time. We're trying to outfit at least a shift and then have enough for charging while they're using them so they can flip when the
Right.
next shift comes on. There is a grant application that came in, where the grant became available after we submitted.
Sure.
So that just happened. It was a week's worth of work that hopefully we'll get it.
Okay.
And that might take that off the table for us.
Well, I think you still have a match of 23,000.
You're correct. Yes, that's right.
Okay. So,
Why don't we include the match?
yes, so I would say take the 39 down to 23,000. Does that sound,
Change that to 23.
does that sound right?
I wasn't here for the grant part. That was
Okay.
Lieutenant Ellis, and I believe Sergeant Case did that.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so we were talking about what, the kitchen conveyor belt?
Yeah, so when the jail serves meals each day, there's about 1,400 meals produced
Go ahead.
daily. The existing conveyor system was put in 2000.
Okay.
With the second expansion to the jail. Since then, we've increased the bed capacity by another 125 beds, and we're doing a ton of work. That equipment's old. The conveyor systems themselves, they're just rollers, and half of them are broken. They don't manufacture that equipment anymore. Our maintenance staff can't repair that. It's old. It's 22 years old.
Yeah, I'm fine with the conveyor.
Yeah.
So where are we looking at from tax revenue?
Yeah. Yeah, there's general fund balance.
How old is that?
22 years old.
Okay,
Got its life.
Yeah.
so the next item is what? The Ford Interceptors?
No, tilt kettle and intercom system.
So last year, we did have on the replacement schedule, there was another
I'm
tilt
sorry.
kettle. This is the second one. They're large, they're as big as these tables, and they cook meals every day. And there's such a huge volume, it requires that tilt arm and mechanics to pour that stuff off each day, but it's part of the equipment. And again, that's a 20-plus-year-old item, and we did replace one last year.
Right, did we replace one as part of the budget process, or was that of,
It was, yes.
okay. Okay, I'm fine with this one too. I mean, we got to feed people, so it's not,
The other item on that list that's probably the most urgent would be the intercom
intercom?
system. Yeah, that's been failing for several years. Tom Reed can probably speak to some of the repairs that they've done with the different electrical companies that come in to keep that thing limping along, but that's an inmate safety issue. When they cannot push a button in their cell to communicate with the
yeah,
control.
you had me at hello.
Okay.
Sorry.
Great.
So 12 grand, I mean, I know we're only halfway through the year, but can we fund that from this year?
That I don't know.
Okay. That's probably what I would prefer, is it be funded this year. If we can, I don't know if any number of people are here with you. I guess, Tom, is that something you think that somewhere?
Yeah, we can find the money. It's basically converting from analog to digital. The new
Okay.
part of the jail was digital.
Okay.
So it's
Okay,
So I'd like to see the 12,000 funded this year and take it off
yeah,
23.
that makes sense. Go ahead.
Okay. Next is $168,000 for 2 Ford Interceptors, fully equipped, and $64,000 for a ADA accessible transport van for the jail.
How many, oh, go ahead.
Bring that, some of these vehicles, if you guys remember, we talked about it, they were going to specialized and unspecialized vehicles. And that's why some of these are coming forward, because they're specialized vehicles. So again, that was probably the main premise why they brought them forward in this, the budget part of it. So it's like, hey, we just bought a new, well, those were vehicles we just could buy off the
Right.
lot and stuff. These are more specialized vehicles. I just wanted to make sure we remind you guys of that.
Well, I think the ADA van is important. So I know it probably didn't cost us a whole lot for Rambo, but it's probably a good idea. You prob-
We have a lot of elderly and handicapped people that require assistance in getting out of vans with leg irons and belly chains on is challenging for a normal able person. You're looking at people that need lift or movement.
Why do we have
there.
elderly population
Talk
in
to the
our jail?
prosecutor. I don't know.
Sorry,
You'd
I
be
just,
surprised.
yeah. Okay,
Very
You know, I'm
surprised.
okay with the van. I think I'd strike the 2 patrol vehicles.
Well, the Interceptors, sir, they're for extraditions. We've got 2 that the jail's had. I believe they're 2007 models, and we've been using the heck out of them. They're over 150,000 miles. These are and as you know, extraditions has changed in the last couple of years with COVID. We are required now to pick up our own inmates. Before, we had the Northwest Shuttle Cooperative, and we would bounce them from one jail to the next, and eventually they would end up here at a prosecutor's request.
So how do they differ from the 25 that we have on order?
That's a
These are
patrol fleet.
expedition,
This is
yeah.
just jail. I didn't submit any patrol requests, or,
And so how old are the ones we currently have? What did you say, 150,000?
they're 150,000 miles. They're aged. And we're still 5 months left in this budget year. We'd have to wait all of '23 to even ask for the next one, so it wouldn't be till '24. We're gonna order them in October. We probably won't get them till spring or summer of next year. So we're gonna be pushing the mileage. We're doing a lot right now with transporting.
so which brings me to another thing. If we're using fund balance, and we've already ordered 25 patrol cars in FY22 because it's fund balance, and we know that things are gonna get harder and harder, can we
Defer?
just, do it now?
What do you want to do, take it out of the current fund balance?
Yeah, well, it's coming out of fund balance, whether it comes out October 1st or
Yeah.
Oh,
comes
you
out
mean
now.
fund the 2 Ford Interceptors in FY22? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah,
Depends on if you can get them.
right.
That's the
And it'll
problem
just
with
roll
paying.
over. I mean, the money will just roll over, so it's really doesn't matter. I'm just concerned with,
25 vehicles for patrol, and I don't want to speak out of turn here. Captain Smart's here, and so I'm thinking maybe one of them should maybe come up. Maybe one of them can say, then we'd order 27 instead of 25.
yeah, but those are explorers, they're not expeditions.
Yeah, they're different.
Yeah, so don't you need expeditions for
Yeah, I was assuming
extradition?
they were the same
They want
vehicle.
the same thing.
Police Interceptor is
Same
an
thing.
expedition. It's just a little more compact.
It's just words here. It's still the Explorers. It's not the big expeditions. It's the same Explorers. Am I
Does
correct?
it say, it says Explorers,
No,
doesn't
it's
it?
just the Interceptor
But
part.
that's what I was
Okay.
asking earlier.
Yeah, it's the same type vehicle. Is Captain Smart here? You want to speak on behalf of that, sir? Can you order 27 instead of 25?
Commissioners, the only thing I would say is we just have to get a hold of Mike White and see if those are still
You
available.
need to be in the microphone. There's one up here, thank you.
Thought it was loud enough. We would just have to reach out to Mike White and see if that is still on the table to jump in on the 30 he had. Because when we said the 25, he was reaching back out to see if there was any entities that he could still pawn those off to, or he was gonna just have to cut the losses and cut those completely. So you give me a day, I can probably check with him to see if
Yeah,
that's
you
still
wanna
an
do
option.
that?
So.
Go ahead and do that. I'm just kind of sad that nobody said, hey, we also have these 2 in our jail program that we need. So, yeah, let us know.
Okay.
Thank you.
Please stay.
They have a van too.
So yes, on the ADA van, the 2 Ford Interceptors, you're gonna wait and see if you can
Yeah,
get
wait
those
on
funded
those.
this year? Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
On the van as well.
No, well,
No, I think we're okaying the van.
yeah, we're okay in the van for sure. And, I mean, it sounds like we're okay in the extradition vehicles as well. It's just whether it comes out of 23 or 22.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
If you can get the van, get it now, because you
Right.
don't know if it's going to be available. I'm just telling you, everything that I've gone through with the last few months, If you can get the van in
Yeah,
22, get the van.
I shared with Bill and Leslie earlier that I sit on the Joint Powers Board for Kootenai EMS, and several months ago, we ordered 3 ambulances in anticipation of the ARPA money, and we locked them in at $414,000. If we were to order them today, it's a 26% price increase. It would have cost us another $100,000 per vehicle.
Wow.
So if you can lock them in, lock them in.
So just for clarity, are we looking to designate fund balance for these, or are we wanting to pay for these out of property tax?
No, because
Fund balance.
Give us a day to find out.
You're talking for this fiscal year, 22.
Yes.
Out of
Fund
If it's
balance.
this fiscal year, it's going to be fund
So the
balance.
van and then 2 interceptors or for the?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so take them out of FY23. We're going to try to order them with FY22 since the money is the same bucket.
Okay.
Commissioners, I imagine that even if we got Mike White to add the 2 Explorers, and if the build process is still open right now, even on the van, we're still talking FY23 before we'd have to get those in and pay for them.
I already argued with them and they want to do it 22 rollover. They don't want to do 23, so don't
Okay. I'll
don't
check-
bother. I
I'll
already
check on
had
the
that
van, too,
argument.
to see if it's even an option right now
Sure.
to get in on the build process. It might be closed. The trucks have closed. That's why we're still waiting on an order for that. So if we can find out, we'll get with them to find out when that process opens back up and we can look at it at that time.
Okay, let's move on.
So next is 28,000. It's an inmate tracking and reporting system, shared cost with ICRIMP for the jail.
So we each come up with 28,000?
This was presented last year as a request, and the board, it got scratched at the end. ICRIM put it in their budget and it was approved, so they have the funds in there right now, and they have until December to release those funds for half of the payment of the core track system. It basically works off of a microchip. It's called Guardian RFID core track. There's a lot of different names for it, but it replaces what we have to do manually to go and well, we're still inspecting inmates every half hour, but it tracks the inmates' movement throughout the jail, which will reduce the amount of hand logging that everyone has to do in the jail. There should be some time savings for sure on that, and accuracy as well, because you're relying less on the human element and on, it's like scanning somebody when they go through the conveyor belt of the grocery store, I guess. But it's an inmate walking in and out of a housing unit, or in and out of the jail, or on a transport van. They're scanned electronically instead. And we have to maintain those records for Idaho jail standards.
So ICRIMP is picking up how much? 50?
Half of it,
Half of
yeah.
it? So it's 28,000 apiece?
Correct.
Yep, I'm fine. And once again, I mean, if it's coming out of fund balance, then I don't want to wait on half of this stuff that we're not going to get after October. So this is probably a different thing, but if they have it available in their budget now, then find out.
Right
So-
now, FY22.
Yeah, okay.
Very good, thank you.
I thought we were already going ahead with that. I mean, but we didn't.
Discussed it last year and it just didn't rise to the level.
Okay.
Next would be 63,000 for a lobby conversion to segregate visitors, staff, and sentenced persons for the jail.
I'm not ready to do anything building
Okay.
for 22.
Yeah, let's hold off on that.
Okay. Next is 75,000 for the maintenance shop and storage expansion for the maintenance for the sheriff.
Yeah, it's kind of another building thing. I know they need some change out there, but it's just a whole nother conversation, I'm afraid, at this point. So
Let's take that off for now.
Take it off for now. Next would be 27,000 for a water jet and a plasma cutter also for maintenance for the shop.
So I presume this replaces an existing piece of equipment.
That would be a question for them.
Tom?
Yeah, the water jet is an additional piece of equipment. It'll cut finer detail, and then the plasma cutter is an upgrade to what we have. We've got currently have a DIY version, and this would be a commercial,
you talking new or used?
new. And I can get it under under the 15.
How crucial is this?
It paid for itself when we first bought it within 3 months, so we've got a lot of failing parts in the jail that are discontinued, especially the sliders that we're systematically changing out, but until then, we make a lot of parts.
Want to leave that in?
I suppose, but that makes me harder to give him his truck. Just kidding.
It's more of a want than a need. The old one still works, and we can just move on with that. The water jet would be really nice because it is a finer detail.
There's trucks and there's raises. Why don't we strike it?
I might have an answer for his truck, so just,
Right.
you know.
Oh, that's the next item?
Yep.
All right.
So what are we doing with the water jet and the plasma cutter?
Can you go another year, Tom?
Sure.
Okay,
Okay,
let's
so
strike it.
striking both of those. So
Yes.
next is 45,000 to replace a 1987 GMC truck.
What year was that again?
87?
87, yeah. It's missing a floor, but I guess that doesn't mean.
Kind of the thought process is we're Captain Smart and everybody who worked together was able to not expenditure all the money out of that money that you gave us for the non-specialized equipment. So went out and looked today, went to one location, Ford, it was like $80-some thousand. So then I drove over to GMC and had him, Tom and his guys go look at it. There's actually a vehicle there for, around 45,000. It's a 2017, but it only had like maybe 37 or 38,000 miles on it. It's a 1 ton, so it's hard to find the 1 tons. So they can put their fuel bladder in it. The fuel bladder again is 800 gallons. You're looking at 900 pounds that they're going back and forth. Eventually, they might probably go to a 250 because they're making 3-4 trips a week.
Yeah.
For their generators. So in the long run, I think it's going to save us a little bit of money on the fuel end. And also they can convert that also into one of the plow trucks, which currently they only have one right now.
So, sorry, squirrel, women are spaghetti, so my spaghetti touched another spaghetti. When we get the fuel farm out at KEC, you're still going to need your bladder because you're going to go to the fuel farm and fill up instead of somewhere else.
Correct. We've got
Okay.
multiple generators
Yeah.
that we fill up every month.
Right.
So I was hoping that I haven't run about fleet maintenance yet. This is just something that just popped up because I got this on Thursday. I want to send an email out requesting that and then come back to the commission and ask if we can possibly purchase that vehicle because, it's a dire need. You got to keep the generators going and everything else.
So that vehicle is already on the lot?
Yes.
Yes, it currently is on a lot today, but I've got to go through the process to make sure we follow everything
Should we go
under
this year?
statute.
I would say yes, look at it for
Fiscal
this year.
22.
Yeah, and try to get something done right away.
Let's do it this year.
If that's okay with the command staff and Tom, because I just want to make sure
Okay,
that they
so
got what they need.
So the 2,450,000. You're saying that out of the 450,000, there's still 50,000 left.
And there's approximately $60-some thousand left over.
Okay, so it's not like 500,000.
No,
Okay,
it's still
it
within
was
the
still
450. It's not additional on top of it.
Okay,
It's approximately 60, and that was between the equipment and the vehicles themselves. It's approximately 60,000, but I want to leave a little bit in there because they're outfitting currently the detectives' rigs. He says it's cost this much, but you just don't know, and I don't want to make sure we go over that. But again, I feel like we can fill it, under 50,000, we can get this vehicle done, and it still leaves us about 15 to 20,000, just to make sure that we're okay.
Okay, so fiscal 22.
Okay, you're saying you want that to come out of that 450
Yes.
remainder?
yes.
We okay?
If you'll allow us, we can reach out to some of the contacts that we have, that we got cheaper pricing on some of the trucks that we got that are newer than a used vehicle. And we might be able to get in on something that is either on the lot right now or coming to the area from the company that's, just coming off the assembly line that would be brand new for the equal price or not, or less.
Yeah, equal or less is fine.
Right.
Because, in 2017, it's with not many miles, he's not putting a lot of strain on it, I don't think, so.
No, I'm just trying to,
Yeah.
I won't tell them what to buy,
Sure.
anything like that. It's saying the money's available so
Yeah.
they can buy it. And we're staying under the $50,000 mark is what.
Okay,
our goal
fair
is.
enough. Fiscal 22, right?
Okay,
Yes.
Sounds good.
Next one.
Moving on, we have a request from the detective division for 4 detective vehicles for $134,000.
No, Commissioners, on these vehicles, what you're seeing, what we're bringing forward is with additional stuff, even though we just got these 4 detective ones, is we're so far behind on our fleet that we have an additional 8 in detectives that are still pushing 200. 4 of those are pushing 200,000 themselves. So with the 4 we just got, we pushed out a couple that were well over mileage that no other entity in the county wanted. We also pushed out 2 that were still in the 60 to 80,000 mile range that fit other needs as a trickle down. So when we started our budget process, instead of coming to you with, hey, we need 32 patrol cars, we need 12 of this, we knew that that wasn't gonna be very well received, so we wanted to come with what was realistic. So that's why we came with just the 4 here or a 10 here. But in reality, there's still another 8 in detectives that could be easily cycled out. And that's why this 4 is still left in there. There's also MP vehicles that we could look at. We didn't bring forward any of those, but again, it's just that we're so far behind in all sections of the fleet that we're trying to bring you small snippets to get us at least back up to speed on some of these vehicles.
What are the 4 vehicles? What are they?
Well, these again would be detective vehicles that we're asking for right now with this 4.
Yeah, but what are they? What's the vehicle?
Well, with these ones, we would probably be looking at some trucks or some SUVs. We would do the same thing that we did just now with the ones that were on the lot, but we're looking for varied vehicles that detectives can use for, secret squirrel looking at, bad guys and stuff, that we don't want just a black Explorer that we've pushed down that everybody knows is a cop car. So we need to look for a varied range of styles, colors, things of that nature. But there's a lot of good pricing out there that we've been able to get with those trucks. We found several brand new vehicles for $42,000. And I believe if we were to look at some state bid stuff, we found some state bid patrol vehicle trucks for $38,000 and some other general trucks for $28,000. So if you allow us to do some looking, I think we can get that cost even a little less and still find something that's going to fit our needs.
Okay, thoughts?
I mean, I don't know. They already got 4. I like to see spreadsheets. I like to see, you have 12 detective vehicles, you just got 4 new ones, you've got 8 with these mileages. That's helpful to me to do that. That's why I like fleet management, because fleet management does that for us. And fleet management says, okay, we recommend this, this, and this. And then they already go through that. So I guess that's, I get it. I get that it's aged and stuff and
we have those
don't have a
Excel
direction.
spreadsheets built with mileage on there. We can certainly get that to you to show you what we're talking about in our fleet for each section that we're talking about.
Okay, so let's put a hold on this for now. Right, you want to take a look at the spreadsheet?
Okay.
yeah. So does that mean you're cutting or you're leaving it in?
Bill,
I take them out for now.
take them off for now? Let's take them off.
Okay, took them off for now. Next is $60,000 for a truck for Backcountry.
Commissioners, I'm sorry, I just gotta go back to this. Are we still able to try to come and present something further
Yeah,
to you? or
yeah,
are you
bring us the
saying-
information. Let's
No.
take a look at the spreadsheet. We'll go
Okay.
from there.
Yeah.
Okay?
The Backcountry, I think Lieutenant Klinkenfuss is here. And then I talked to Ryan Miller last Friday a little bit, and Lieutenant Klinkenfuss will correct me if I'm wrong. This vehicle originally they were trying to get some grant money to get it and stuff like that, and the grant just recently fell through where they couldn't get it. So they had like $20,000 aside for the vehicle, and it's replacing, I don't know exactly which vehicle, but
It would be replacing a 2004 3/4 ton truck in the rec safety section. And so, like you said, we put in for a WIF grant for the vehicle, was denied. We had 20,000 set aside in vessel fund balance towards that could go towards this vehicle as well. The vehicle that it will replace is a 2004. It's got about 130 some odd thousand miles on it. I'm not totally accurate on that, but that vehicle could also be trickle down. That 3/4 ton truck could also be sent out to another county entity as well.
So, Tom, can you get away with a 3/4 ton, or has it got to be at 1 ton?
Yeah, we'll work with whatever we can get.
I don't know, that looks win-winish
So
right
you've got
there.
$20,000 you can put towards it, is that it?
Yes, sir.
And then if we have the $40,000 or $45,000 that we were going to look for a Tom truck.
Tom doesn't have a knife right now, does he? He's going like this to my back.
I'm trying to avoid.
No, no, but I always appreciate Tom's attitude. It's like, look, I need these things, I want these things, and thank you very much if I get them. So, I don't know, work with fleet management to figure out if, I don't want to get Tom something he can't use.
Right.
So that's my concern, because I know Tom's been here every year I've been here, and we've said no every year, so.
The only concern I have is they want to try to cut down on the travel back and forth because they're doing 3 or 4 trips. And they want to bump it up to a 250 bladder. If we do that, a 3/4 ton probably
Won't do it.
have it. It won't be safe, especially when you're driving with 250 gallons diesel. So I think personally, I mean, we do the 40,000 for the backcountry because it is a specialized vehicle, and then we do Tom's vehicle still. That's just, I can't. That's just me looking at it as a practical point of view.
Right, so
Because
this,
the boats pull our, they do all the weight pull and everything else. But again, Tom's gonna have a lot of weight too.
right.
All right, so
So,
really what we're looking at is 40 instead of 60.
Yes, sir.
I guess cut it down to 40.
Cut it down to 40?
Cut it down to
Yeah.
40,
Okay.
so we'll
Sounds
leave that
good.
in.
Yeah.
Next is a request from juvenile detention for $256,000. That consists of a new HVAC system for $217,000, $39,000 for washers and
Thanks,
dryers.
guys.
Now, that HVAC system is in the request for ARPA, but we don't know what the decision is yet for ARPA. So that would come out as a request if it was ARPA approved.
I say take the 217 out, and then we fund the 39,000.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Fund to the 39,000.
Yeah, so the
Oh,
washers
so
and
are you going to
dryers.
assume the 217's coming out of ARPA, is that
Yeah.
it?
Yep.
Okay, so we'll change that to 39?
Okay, yep, change that to 39.
Got
Next
it.
is a control room software upgrade for the juvenile detention center. It's 12,000.
And I don't think, JT, are you on the line? I don't think he is. Anybody from juvenile detention? It's also 12,000. I want to see if we can get it done this year.
Okay, FY23.
So, and I believe that he probably may have that. If not, it will just bring it back before the board and do fund balance.
Okay, good enough, so that's fiscal '22. So
Okay.
Brandy, do you have enough to go on?
We got one
Oh,
more
we're not
page.
done
We
yet,
have
are we?
just 2 more to go.
Go right ahead.
So next is a Voip project. This is from IT, 200,000. They requested it come from the IT assigned fund balance, and they also have 720,000, 300 of that for video evidence storage for the sheriff, and 420,000 for laptops, also for sheriff.
Grant.
Oh, the VoIP project?
Yep.
So that's the phones.
Yes, so, and I know we need to do that, because actually, surprisingly, now that I know we're getting new phones, mine is not working that well anymore. Why does that happen?
The unfortunate news about that is, just like everything, when we originally planned
2
out this
years.
project a year to 2 years ago, costs were a lot different. And what they are right now is that 200 isn't even enough to do the first, this is a 2-stage project, and the 200,000 represents stage 1. And we were gonna be coming back with more funds for fiscal year '24 to finish the second stage of the project. From all the checking we've done right now, 200,000 is no longer enough to even do stage 1. So the reason it's still in here is because we'd like to combine the 200,000 with what we're going to ask for and roll it over, and then also make our request for some more fund balance in fiscal year '24, combine the two, and our partner that we work with, First Line, feels that that would give us enough purchasing power with Mitel, the company, to drive the costs down to a reasonable amount to where we could get it all done with basically about $400,000.
Okay, so I don't know that we need to put it in, roll it over, and do all that stuff. Maybe I wasn't following you correctly. So if we just know that that's in your 5-year capital plan, we're going to make sure we have enough money in '24 to fund all of it.
Yeah, we were just trying to work within the realm of the 1.5 assigned.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so it's not coming out of the 1.5 assigned initially?
Yeah, that's what we were trying to do, is get it to come out of this 1.5 now, then roll it over so that there was a full 1.5 next year, if need be.
Gotcha.
But however you want to bring
Well,
that
then-
together, we're fine with.
Then maybe in March, you come and you say, my 1.5 needs to be 1.7,
Okay.
if that makes
Okay,
sense.
so we're striking it for now for fiscal '23,
The 200,000, right?
200,000.
Okay.
So strike that, and then
Yeah, right.
next is 720,000 for sheriff IT.
So same fund balance. This is two parts. One is the ruggedized laptops that we have out in all the patrol units. We talked about this a couple times. Basically, they're not ruggedized because we're gonna take them out and slap people with them. They're ruggedized because they're shaking all day long as this patrol unit's running around. No laptop can withstand that, so they end up being a bit more expensive. They're about a
So you just took a
$3,500.
year off your laptop's life by the,
This is a 7-year-old laptop. It can deal with it. But yeah, there's a few reasons why we're doing it this way. We could go with like an operating budget where we replace 20 laptops every year for the fleet of 100 and do it a cycle over 5 years. But the problem is, these laptops end up becoming very specific to the car they go in when you do it that way, because there's certain mounting hardware that's proprietary to the laptop of the year that you bought it. If we do the entire laptop fleet at one time, then every patrol unit has the same dock in it to dock the laptop to. Every laptop is the same. We'll save a tremendous amount of dollars in soft costs on the back end for both the SOs, deputy staff, for IT staff, and for the auto shop staff having to do this switch around. We constantly have folks coming into our office out there when their car gets, whatever reason, it's in the shop, now they need to move to another car, well, the laptop doesn't.
So how old are the laptops that are currently in the vehicles?
How old are they? Some of them range up to 10 years old, and they shouldn't be older than 5. So what this does is it gets us on a 5-year plan where we do it all right now. 5 years from now, we're gonna be back at this same table, doing the same thing, and cycling these things every 5 years. The reason, Commissioner, that they're that old is because traditionally they were purchased with the purchase of the vehicle instead of an independent purchase, just for the machine's sake itself. Vehicles may or may not last 5 or longer than 5 years. That's not for me to decide. What I can tell you is these machines will not last longer than 5 years. And so we're literally duct tape and baling wire out there holding these things together.
So it turns out that while we're ordering 25 vehicles, chances are they and the computers will expire at the same time,
Likely.
potentially.
Yeah.
The vehicles probably sooner, but that's.
What we're trying to do is unmarry those two things so that whatever the status of the vehicle fleet is, the computer fleet is its own entity and being taken care of out of IT fund balance.
Okay, so how are we paying for this?
IT fund balance.
Yeah, IT assigned fund balance.
Out of the 1.5 million?
Yes.
Right
out
now,
of
it's
the
1,030,000 after the rubric purchase in FY22.
Okay.
I'm sorry, you said that leaves us with $1,030,000 after this?
Right, but
No, before, you have 1,030,000 right now.
Oh, we have $1,030,000. Okay, we're gonna
Yes,
take out
yes.
720.
yes,
Are we good to go with
because,
this?
yes, because ARPA will replenish the rubric
Okay, I got it.
thing. So, yes, so I'm good with it coming out of IT fund
Bill?
balance.
Yes.
Okay, you're good with that one?
Yeah.
And then lastly, community development had requested a truck, but Keith Hutchison told me to take it off. They discussed and decided to strike
You
it.
got one to give them, is that it?
Well, they just
No,
got two.
I called and asked them if they wanted a vehicle, and at the time they said no. And then it comes back later and I get called Thursday, hey, it's a community development vehicle, and I was like, So I ended up calling Dave and said, hey, I offered, we called, well, we changed our mind. I was like, well, you're gonna have to wait till next year. So, because that was the part of the non-specialized vehicle, and he goes, I understand, and he explained it to his staff, I guess, on Friday.
Is he okay?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know if he's okay.
He's getting a
but
couple of others, or has already, hasn't he?
Yeah.
He got a
did
couple of
already.
vehicles, I think, end of last year or something like that. But again, this is for the building inspector department and stuff like that,
So he's okay to do without it?
He said he can put in for next year, is what I was
Right.
told.
Yeah, that's fine. So I'm just trusting fleet management to keep on top of
Yeah.
these things.
And so
So,
next
and if you
year-
get a trickle down that you can get to him before that, that would be great.
Yeah, we will, it's like, it's in the beginning stages of where we're at with the fleet management end of it. And hopefully I can put this all together with a little bit more spreadsheet coming in the near future, so You guys can have that information.
Yep.
Okay,
And that's it.
that's it.
Okay, so you'll get us a new summary and
Yes, I'll
see.
have it updated
So you'll recompute
before 10 PM today. How about that?
Tomorrow is
tomorrow,
plenty.
10 a.m. is okay.
Plenty.
But yes, I'll get it updated.
So,
Okay, cool.
okay.
All right then.
Thank you.
Okay, so I guess we have to call for public comment? Nothing? I've got exactly 4 PM. This meeting is adjourned. Thanks.